everyone. Welcome to this week's Talking with Our Traders. I am the host, Cindy Edwards, and with me today is Craig Mucklow, Vice President of Trading here at Caesar Sportsbook.
Hello there.
Hi, Craig.
Hey.
We then have Adam Pullen, Assistant Director of Trading here at Caesars.
Hello, everyone.
And Joey Fiesel, Head of College Football.
Hello.
Hey, guys. How have you been? How's the week been?
Good.
Good.
Chaotic as usual.
Chaotic as usual?
Yeah.
Isn't that the truth? Happy to have the entire team back this week.
Yep.
Let's kick things off with college football. Guys, was Jaden Daniels the right pick to win the Heisman?
Yes, Jaden Daniels was him. He threw for 3,800 yards, 40 touchdown passes, only 4 interceptions, ran for over 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns on the ground. Although he lost 3 times, Florida State, Ole Miss, Alabama, one of which was maybe his fault. That was the Florida State game. Ole Miss, they put up over 40 points. Alabama, he got hurt in the third quarter. I think he's going to be an excellent NFL quarterback, and I think he's going to likely drop in the draft, probably farther than he should. I'm just hoping that Les Snead sees the same talent that I see, and then he puts on the blue and gold when they put Matty Stafford out to pasture. So, yeah, I think, he's well-deserving of the trophy. I think, Bo Nix was obviously still in the mix, but they lost in the Pac-12 title game, and that was his chances. And, I think they ended up and voted in the right way, and Jaden Daniels got the trophy, so good for him.
Yeah, so what's interesting is that Nix didn't even get second in the voting. He got third.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. It just shows you how valuable that Pac-12 championship game was. Not that second or third means anything, but
No,
certainly it was eye-opening to me.
Yeah, and our Louisiana customers believed in that as well. So they love the college team, LSU, more than they love the pro teams in that town. He was heavily bet all summer. He was a loser for us. I feel a touch for Penix because of all the finalists, he was the one that won a conference.
Right.
And 3 losses, we discussed it some time back. So he padded his stats late, and people have recent memory.
All right. Okay, well, let's go over what you guys think the best bowl game name is. Craig, do you want to start?
So I had 3 favourites. The
Okay.
Birmingham Bowl, because that's where I'm from. The Las Vegas Bowl, because that's where I live. And the Mayo Bowl, because I love mayo. I love mayo so much, my doctor hates me for loving it so much. So there you go, there's the favourite.
Do you want to get dunked in mayo like they do at the end
I
of that
dunk
bowl
my
game?
sushi
They
in mayo
do
if I get the
that?
opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No
they do. Yeah,
way.
yeah.
Your
It's
chips.
disgusting.
Yeah,
You put, yeah,
everything.
yeah.
Fair enough. Bowl names are always my favorite. Always fun to see the new sponsorship. I got a couple honorable mentions. The Cheez-It Bowl is always fun. It's now changed. There's the Cheez-It Bowl last year. It's not the same. Now it's the Citrus Bowl this year, and it's replaced by another one of my childhood snacks, the Pop-Tarts Bowl. Shout out to Pop-Tarts. Also the funny name, Scooter's Coffee Frisco Bowl. Scooter must make a great cup of coffee. The famous Toastery Bowl. I'm not even sure what that means. That's in Charlotte. But my favorite is the Gasparilla Bowl. It has history to it. My money is maybe Adam knows about this, but it's named after Jose Gaspar, was a mythical pirate who terrorized the Gulf of Mexico in the late 18th century. Said to be based in Southwest Florida. They have a pirate festival called the Gasparilla Festival around my birthday in late January. Looks like a lot of fun. So yeah, UCF's going to take on Georgia Tech on December 22nd in the Gasparilla Bowl. And it's
100% Adam knew that.
Yeah.
I knew a little about it, not as much as you do, that's for sure. If I'm with Joey, it's got to be the Pop-Tarts Bowl. Probably the best thing I'm looking forward to is maybe not watching the game. It's a good matchup, K-State, NC State. But will they have, how many Pop-Tart mascots will there be?
Oh, true.
Yeah.
I've got a couple to choose from.
Yeah, so anyway, other than that, it's the Alamo Bowl. I'm from San Antonio, so I'm partial to the Alamo Bowl. But let's not forget some of the old bowl names. My favorite, the Pool and Weed Eater Independence Bowl. That was, I think, the best sponsor, the sponsor name. Hello, Pool and Weed Eater, if you're still out there. In the Bluebonnet Bowl, another Texas, it's a state flower of Texas, best state flower there is. And the Outback Bowl, I mentioned mascots. Hopefully we get the Pop-Tart mascot, but the Outback Bowl was the best because it had the bloomin' onion mascot and the coconut shrimp mascot. So if you're out there, look it up. It's hilarious.
And you dip all of those in mayo.
In mayo.
These
Exactly.
names are just absolutely insane.
They're always
Insane.
crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, Joey, this question is going to be directed at you. How
Okay.
difficult is it to handicap bowl games with players opting out and entering the transfer portal?
It's very difficult, to say the least. You have players opting out, deciding, if they're going to focus on the NFL draft. You have people entering the transfer portal. UCLA, Chip Kelly's. If you've entered the transfer portal, you're not allowed to play on that team. Last year, there was a quarterback who entered the transfer portal, but he still played. So it's like a lot of news you have to stay on top on. But we start out, we use our base power rating, then we make adjustments based on either motivation or what players are in and out, were they starters. Sometimes people are in the transfer portal, but they never saw a down, so that really doesn't matter. So you really have to be on top of all the teams. The team, something like motivation-wise, we see Ohio State playing Missouri in the Cotton Bowl. Missouri wants to win this. They've wanted to win every game this year. They're excited. Ohio State, they're in the playoff last year. How much they really want to get up for a bowl game that really means nothing. I think next year it's going to be different. We're going to have a 12-team playoff, so there's going to be 4 of these kind of meaningless bowl games that are going to be replaced with competitive games. So I'm looking forward to that. But it's quite difficult to stay on top of, and it's a lot of man hours in December.
Yeah, it's usually the best is getting the information early, right when the portal opened. Boom, McCord's in, and other transfers immediately declared. So if we get that information earlier, it's better because the limits are lower. You just don't want that news breaking day before the game. Obviously, we just talked about Jaden Daniels. Is he going to play? Last said he's TBD against Wisconsin. So that'll obviously move the line quite a bit. So yeah, the earlier we get the information, the better. But yeah, like Joey says, it's difficult, but that's the way it is now. We have to be prepared for it as best we can.
Yeah, it's detrimental to the product as well because we don't know as much. Maybe they change the transfer portal rule until after the bowl games in the future. But customers are placing bets on bowl games, they don't know participants as well.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So it's college football shoot themselves in the foot with these rules.
Yeah. Okay, how will Dylan Gabriel impact Oregon's odds next season? Is he an upgrade from Bo Nix?
So Dylan Gabriel, now joining his 3rd team, was previously at UCF, Oklahoma. He'll be wearing the number 8, which in fellow Hawaiian native Marcus Mariota won when he won the Heisman, and that was the first playoff year. They made it to the playoff, got to the national championship game, lost to Ohio State. Dylan Gabriel's a very talented quarterback, but I'm not going to dog my man Bo Nix. I'm not going to say he's an upgrade or a downgrade. I think it's going to be just kind of level transfer. But this Oregon team's going to be very talented. Man, do they have a tough schedule in 2024. They play Ohio State, Michigan, and Washington. At least 2 of those are at home, but your first year of the Big Ten, you don't want to play the 2 big dogs. So they should be competitive. They have a very talented team. They're going to continue to be talented, but it's going to be next year's going to be tough. They have a little more leeway with the 12-team playoff, but yeah, it's going to be a tough year next year for them. But yeah, I'd say even. I'm not going to dog Bo Nix.
Yeah, I agree with Joey. I think it's almost a push. Oregon's more than their quarterback, so they have a solid team all around. But yeah, like Joey said, that's a murderer's row schedule right there. But yeah, not too much difference between he and Bo Nix, in my opinion.
All right. Well, let's look ahead to the bowl games happening this weekend. Let's start with the LA Bowl, UCLA versus Boise State.
So the line opened up UCLA -2.5, up to 4.5. UCLA kind of had a disappointing season, to say the least. True freshman Dante Moore, who started half of the games, maybe a little less, has left the program. Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year, Laiatu Latu, will be unavailable as he prepares for the NFL Draft. But on the other side, Boise State, they also lost their quarterback to the transfer portal. They'll be down to true freshman C.J. Tiller taking the reins for the Broncos. I agree with the move, probably go 2.5 to 4.5. I don't think Chip Kelly's going to play soft in a meaningless bowl game. It's just not the coach he is. They're going to defend the home turf of LA. UCLA is likely to get the win in this matchup, but we have seen some bangers from this Boise State program in bowl history. So.
Yeah, no, like Joey said, there's a cloud hanging over Chip Kelly. Rumor mill, it looks like he's still going to be there, but Boise's had their own issues with coaching. Their coach was replaced 3 games left in the season. He's just named permanent coach, Danielson, so they should be motivated. But yeah, like Joey said, Taylor Green now he's at Arkansas. Just saw him play here a few weeks ago in UNLV in the Mountain West Championship game, did well, but he's a Razorback now, starting freshman quarterback, never played before, advantage in the quarterback position at UCLA, so Garbers is got to be viewed as a better option than a true freshman. But Boise will be ready. I think they'll be motivated. I mean, they finished the season tough and strong for the new coach, so yeah, it should be a good game. But yeah, questions on both sides.
Right.
It's played at SoFi, yeah?
Yep.
I have no opinion on the game. It's indoors.
And it's sponsored by Gronk. So
Yeah,
Gronk will be there. Another
So
reason
it'll
to
be
turn
fun.
into.
The Gronk
Definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Gronk is definitely, he knows how to throw a party or
That
host
he-
a
Oh
party.
yeah,
That
should be
he
a
does.
party.
Any other bowl games that are interesting to you?
I like the New Orleans Bowl. Jacksonville State had a tremendous first year going into the FBS this season after transferring to FCS. They weren't even technically supposed to be bowl eligible, but depending on if teams lose or not, they're in. So they're going to be motivated. Under Rich Rodriguez, we saw they definitely outkicked their coverage. I think their win total was 5. They ended up winning 8. On the other side, they're going to play the Raging Cajuns, the University of Louisiana, Caesar Superdome. They're going to want to protect their home. Not a lot of opt-outs or transfer portals in this matchup, so I expect a competitive game for them.
Shout out Caesar Superdome.
Shout
right.
out
Just wanna
Caesar
put that out
Superdome.
there.
Yeah, no, I agree with Joey. Jacksonville State, their first bowl game, obviously they got in due to the technicality, not enough teams qualifying to play in bowl games, so they'll be motivated. But I will say that the best game may not be a bowl game. I'm saying it's in Missoula, Montana. North Dakota State
No,
had
that's
Montana in the FCS semifinals, so that game I'm looking forward to watching.
I like the Cure Bowl, because it's named after a great pop band from England. Miami, Ohio versus Appalachian State, not because I know the two teams. The weather is going to be awful in Florida all weekend, under 44.5.
All right. Okay, guys, that was great, but let's move on to Week 15 NFL.
Yes.
You guys ready?
Ready.
And before we move on to Week 15, let's actually rewind to Week 14. How long were the longest odds for the Titans in their upset win against Miami? Craig, let's start with you.
Oh, I wonder why.
I don't know, just
25 to 1. There weren't many takers. The action, though, was incredible. I was looking through the bets placed on the ticker. Those last 3 drives, the last 6-7 minutes of the game, were just nuts. And it was all two-way action. Yeah, it was absolutely insane. So the trader covering the game did a great job. He managed it. But it was too bad that the 2 games that had great finishes were side by side. They need to do something about this because it's a killer for handle for the books. And you've got to watch it on 2. You're not paying attention to any one game, and we end up because of our job. You got to watch the replays of all the other games and catch up. So a shame, but the Titans did well. Wasn't Will Levis the kid that covered himself in mayo last year?
Was that? It might have been.
I think it was.
he does love mayo. That's like a known thing. He puts it in his coffee.
There you go.
Yeah.
Don't think I'll be trying that.
No.
No, yeah, it's. I think I saw it. Probably no one took it. I saw it go up to 35 to 1 when I was looking back at the history, but I think that was for like a brief time. But you got to give credit where credit's due. Will Levis, Mike Vrabel got it done. It looked like Miami might cover. It was like 5 minutes ago. They're up 14. It was like the Titans were playing great all game, but yeah, give them credit. They fought back from adversity, and I don't know how the Dolphins blew that game, but they did.
Yeah, definitely one of the wildest last few minutes of any game I've seen. I mean,
Right.
those 2 horrible turnovers, and then you're looking at there's no chance they come back and win. If you turned away and thought it was over and you look back, you must have been shell-shocked to see that the Titans won that game. But yeah, it was pretty incredible, and 35 or 25 to 1 odds, pretty substantial.
So is it more impressive of the Titans or more unimpressive of Miami?
The Dolphins were awful.
Yeah.
Their 2 offensive drives were total 19 yards. Yeah, I mean, from a sportsbook opinion, I'm watching the game. I'm like, oh my word! Like Miami are now going to cover, which is not a good result.
Right.
To the dog actually went straight up on the money line, but fair play to Vrabel. They went for the 2-point conversion on the first touchdown, which everybody is trying to do, and finally it cashed.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like that's the only time it's cashed. They always say like, you want to know what you have, and I can't wrap my head around it still every time. But it worked. Worked this time.
Yeah.
Okay, next up, are the Bills back with that win against KC?
The Bills never left.
They never left.
No. Going back through the history of the year on my futures numbers, the worst I had them was 10th in week 10. They're now, I'll tell you in a minute, in my ratings. They're dangerous if they make it in. They're a great team. It makes no difference. Huge home game this week against Dallas. They can easily win 3 straight games. They've got the Chargers, the Patriots, and the Dolphins to close. They've already blown out the Dolphins. Minus 115 to make the playoffs. I think the value lies in the AFC East though, at plus 300. The Dolphins could easily go 1-3 to close. The Bills could go 3-1, 4-0 if they beat Dallas this weekend. That gets the Bills the division.
What do you guys think?
I'm not sold after Sunday. They only have two wins against teams with winning records. The win against Chiefs last week, and then beating Craig's Dolphins in Week 4. The only guarantee in every Bills game is that Josh Allen is going to throw an interception. So I do not believe they've fixed their offense. Their defense is still in shambles. Again, if I go back to the Chiefs, it's the Chiefs are. We obviously saw with Mahomes, they're in shambles. It's not just the offsides from Tony that ruined that game. They aren't the same Chiefs team. So if it was Chiefs 2 years ago, then it would have been the Bills 2 years ago. But then I would say it would have been more impressive. But I see the Bills slipping up from here on out and not making the playoffs.
I mean, yeah, they're back. I mean, obviously this is a huge game for them if they win this. And Craig said they have the Chargers now with their quarterback issues, and New England, and then at Miami, who they've already beaten. But like I said last week, those losses early in the season to the teams that they should have beat might end up costing them. But
right.
Look, they've only lost their biggest loss was 6 points the whole year. So their record could be way better than it is. But they're 7-6 now.
Yeah,
so
7-6.
Yeah, it's a monstrous game. Obviously, if they win this one, they have the talent. Yes, Josh Allen hasn't played as well as people thought he would. But yeah, and I agree with Joey that the win over the Chiefs, albeit good, the Chiefs aren't the Chiefs, but they take care of business this week against Dallas, and that's a whole new ball game. And if they win those next 2 games, which they should, they're right back in the thick of things. I mean, they're not actually being chased. They got the Colts, the Texans chasing them, not exactly juggernauts. So yeah, I'd say they're back.
The schedule gives them some help this week as well because Steelers play the Colts, who are both 7-6.
Yep.
So they're going to get help around them. So a win against Dallas, that's huge.
They've been pretty unlucky this year, so now they're going to start getting lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah, people are going to help
Could
them.
be.
Sometimes.
Okay, well, let's do an MVP update. Dak Prescott or Brock Purdy? Neither.
Yeah. Lamar Jackson. And you knew this was coming.
Yeah.
Of course.
Given how volatile this market is, we've said it for how many weeks now with the Heisman. Every single week there's probably a different favourite. Injuries can take a toll. Hurts should have won it a couple of years ago, got injured, and it was ripped away from him. I can't take plus 140 and I can't take plus 170, even though both of them are fairly deserving. Prescott's obviously up there because of the recent run that Dallas are having and all the media, as we say every week, all of that. But I think that if the Ravens can win out, they've got a hard schedule. They've got the toughest schedule the rest of the year. If they win out, Jackson wins MVP hands down.
Yeah, I mean they play each other Christmas Day, so
they got the 49ers and the Dolphins.
So that game, big games determine a lot, and if he plays better than Purdy, then he'd likely move ahead of him.
And the recent memory.
Yeah. Games later in the year matter more. What did you see last? So that's going to be huge. Obviously those two, Dak and Brock are, deserved favorites as of right now. They both played well. If I'd have to lean to Dak if you're asking me of those two who should win it. Pains me as an Eagles fan, but I'll say it. I just think Purdy has more complementary players than Prescott does.
Right.
But either way, it's still wide open. We discuss it ad nauseum with the Heisman Trophy every week, new favorite, back and forth. So even though the season's almost over, there's still a ton of football to be played.
And not interested in Josh Allen at 16? No? Okay.
No, not with that many turnovers.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. I'd say this week Dak Prescott really has an opportunity to take a bigger step. Obviously, if you're playing the Bills, 49ers are playing the Cardinals. Cardinals really terrible rushing offense. I expect C-Mac to get some healthy runs. I hope so for my fantasy team on the playoffs. But, yeah, getting the road win against the darling team of the week, the Bills, is going to put him as, I think, a healthy favorite if he goes and wins that game.
All right, well, we'll see. Okay, a lot of Tommy DeVito on the timeline the past couple of weeks. Would there be a difference in game odds if the Giants started a healthy Daniel Jones versus Tommy DeVito, who is taking care of business thus far?
At this point, no. I think Tommy Coldcuts has been playing well enough to lead the Giants to these three straight wins against lower-level teams. Third win in a row usually is the kiss of death for Tommy Cutlet, so I expect a poor outing against the Saints on Sunday.
I'd hit a couple of points. I'd take Daniel Jones.
In whose favor?
Daniel Jones.
You're a Daniel Jones guy, too.
Yeah.
People forget.
It was a couple of points. I mean, they haven't beat anybody good. Jones is far more mobile for my liking than DeVito. But I didn't see. I had a quarter of an eye on the Green Bay Giants game, but yeah, it's just on my data, I'd be Jones.
Yeah, I rate Jones about 3 points better. As well as DeVito played Player of the Week this week, offensive player.
Didn't Zach Wilson get it as well?
Yeah, both of them.
Yeah, how crazy is that? If he would have told you that a few weeks ago, you would have said
the Cowboys kicker should have heads up won that.
Yeah, but no, I mean, look, they beat Green Bay, and Green Bay has been playing very well, so give them credit there. But 5 picks, no interceptions his last 3 games, so got to give him credit. His other numbers aren't staggering as far as yards he's throwing for, but no, it's a great story. But yeah, I think Daniel Jones should be a few points. Add a few points to the Giants if he's back, but I don't know. Why not give DeVito a chance? They're winning, so they won 3 in a row.
Well, they're in playoff contention now.
Yeah.
They're on the outside, big time,
very
looking
outside,
in. But
There was a reference made about DeVito being possibly the next Tom Brady. What do you guys think about that? That was asked. That question was posed by a media member in a press conference to their coach, and the coach just laughed. That was disrespectful.
Yeah, it's a good response.
It's a good response. Okay, so we're not buying.
No.
Let's introduce a new segment to our space, and that is contenders or pretenders. Guys, we're talking Super Bowl contenders or Super Bowl pretenders. Are you guys ready?
Ready.
This could get fun.
This could get fun. Contender or pretender, Kansas City?
Contenders, and for reasons I'll discuss in the Ravens-Jags preview.
All right.
I'm saying contenders because if they're going to be probably in the playoffs, and I think it's just the team has been there before, that's going to give them that kind of boost. I think right now, obviously, having some issues, not the Chiefs in the past, but I think you get into the playoff scenario, having that experience is going to help big time.
Yep. Agree with what Joey said. Can't count Patrick Mahomes out, even though they're obviously we've said it. They're just not as crisp as they've been in previous years. But I'll say contender.
All right, Casey, contender. Contender or pretender, Buffalo Bills?
100% contender.
Mic drop.
I'm going to say pretender. I just think they're just Josh Allen, that whole Bills team, they have to rely on Josh Allen being perfect, and he has not been perfect. Their defense is not going to be good enough to be competitive against a really strong the Ravens, or if it's the Dolphins. I just don't. I know they beat the Dolphins before, but I'm going to say pretender. I just don't believe this Bills team.
Yeah, I know I said they are back, but as far as Super Bowl contender, I'd have to say pretender if you're as of right now. I mean, they're on the cusp, but like we said in past years, it was like, all right, it's when they're going to win the Super Bowl, not if. But that window has passed. But yeah, I'm gonna have to go pretender for now.
All right, Adam breaks the tie, and they are pretenders as of now. Contender or pretender, 49ers?
They're obviously a contender. However, at plus 240, no. So when the Patriots went 16-0, if you parlayed up their money line odds to get all the way through to the Super Bowl, yes, I remember the game. That still came out as plus 210. So although they're contenders, I wouldn't be a buyer at 240 right now, especially if there's an injury. So just wait until you get to the playoffs and then parlay up the number.
Let's all agree to never bring up that season again. Okay, Joey?
Champions. I think the San Francisco team, above and beyond, the better team. They're so good that just their running attack is so good that Brock Purdy is in the MVP conversation because they're wide open. And they just have very solid defense. Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Brock Purdy, CMC, they're all-around team. They're winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah, definite contenders, and definitely the top contender to win the Super Bowl for sure.
All right, contender or pretender?
We're not talking about value. You're talking about value.
I'm talking about value.
Betting value.
Yeah, I'm sitting from an odds component.
Okay.
Yeah, you all agreed. You all agreed. They're contenders. Joey even thinks they are the only contender. They're the champions.
Joey should be done for plagiarism.
And I'm a Rams fan. Let's remember that. This is just our bitter rival.
All right, contender or pretender, Miami Dolphins?
Pretender. For the same reason as when you asked Dallas, exactly the same reason as Dallas. They've got to beat somebody on the road, and it's not going to happen.
Guys.
Yeah, I'm going to say pretender as well. That haven't been a good team this year, and last week was pretty bad. They're in the talking point for possible #1 seed, and they blow that game. It's pretender. We've talked about it all season. They need to beat some teams, especially at the top of the league.
Yeah, I'm pretender as well. As much as I really like this team, really like this offense, but I just don't think they're there yet. So pretender.
All right. Contender or pretender, Jacksonville Jaguars?
They're not even on my list, so pretender.
Yeah, I'm going to say pretender as well. I mean, obviously the Trevor Lawrence injury throws a whole new wrench into that. I mean, they're looking like a solid team, and a team a lot of people thought were going to be a contender, but too many question marks there. You know, did he come back too early and threw 3 touchdowns, but 3 picks as well?
Yeah.
So,
Right.
yeah, I'd have to go pretender now with Lawrence, who probably not going to get any healthier as the season goes on.
Yeah, I would say pretender as well. They're kind of in that same boat in Miami. Young team, but yeah, Trevor Lawrence and that ankle, it's, pretender.
All right. Contender or pretender, Detroit Lions?
Pretender.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll go pretender. We've had them in our top 5, or some of us have through the season, but not anymore. I mean, can't get it done against the Bears. Yeah, they're not playing well right now, losing to the Packers at home, barely beating the Bears in Detroit as well. So yeah, definite pretender as it stands now.
Yeah, I think Jared Goff, he's just kind of in that late season Jared Goff. I think from here on out, I don't think they're going to be able to get there. Obviously, they should be in the playoffs. They should get there. But yeah, I don't think they have enough to beat the big boys of Dallas or San Francisco.
All right. The next 4 are exciting to me. Contender or pretender, Dallas Cowboys?
Pretender. They've got to go on the road. It's not going to happen.
I got them contenders. I think they're really, to me, it's San Francisco and Dallas in the NFC Championship game. Yeah, I'd say they're contenders. They have good offense, solid team all around. I think, yeah, they're going to prove after this weekend that they're contenders to Craig, hopefully.
Pains me to say it, but contenders. But again, they have to go through the Niners. We saw it happened earlier in the season. Are they going to be able to flip the script there? I don't know, but they got to be in the mix. They're playing well. They can score a lot of points. Finally got a good win over a good team last week, so got to say contender.
All right. Contender or pretender, Denver Broncos?
Another one not on the list.
Yeah, pretender. I mean, they've obviously, they won 6 out of the last 7 games.
Yeah.
Look like a completely different team in the second half of the season, but I don't think it's going to be enough to get through playoffs.
Yeah, pretender. Great run, obviously, that they're on, but pretender.
Contender or pretender, Baltimore Ravens?
Champion.
Glad you got that one, Craig.
I think they're contenders. Obviously, this past week they had some trouble with the Rams for whatever reason, but they showed adversity in the end. You know, they went 3-and-out in that overtime, got the ball back, or they didn't even have to have the ball back. They ran punt return for the touchdown. So yeah, I think they're definitely the class of the AFC.
Yep, definite contenders for sure.
Okay, last but not least, contender or pretenders, the Eagles?
Contender. And you're welcome, Adam.
Thank you.
I mean, Dallas lost 3 games, 49ers have lost 3 games, Baltimore's lost 3 games, Eagles have lost 3 games, and the world's fallen apart. I don't think so. 3 of their losses are to 2 quality teams, and they're beating quality teams. So they're a serious contender. They'll right the ship.
Yeah, I'm going to say contender. I mean, like Craig said, I mean, yes, they've shown weaknesses in the last couple of weeks, mainly in their defense. Their offense not looking good right now, but they got a few weeks to correct it, so can't rule them out, say they're middle of the road right now, so I'm going to say contenders.
Yeah, I'm say contenders. I mean, obviously, they've been there before, been to the playoffs, got tush push, hasn't been banned yet, so yeah, I think it's definitely, yeah, it probably is coming.
All right. Well, that was fun, guys.
Yeah.
I think that's a good segue into our updated NFL power rankings. Who wants to start with their rankings?
I've got 49ers, Cowboys, Ravens, Eagles, Dolphins. I'm not going to kick the Dolphins off on that Monday night. I think just that offense is just simply too good. Obviously, with me, it's the 49ers, Cowboys have a little bit of separation from Ravens, Eagles, Dolphins.
All right, a couple of steps.
Yeah, I'll say 49ers, Ravens, Cowboys, Eagles. The 5th team, I have no idea. You can pick anybody. So those 4 for sure. But yeah, Niners and Ravens are, ahead of everyone. And I said the Cowboys beat the Eagles, so, they move ahead. Much to my chagrin.
Yeah. Niners, Ravens, Cowboys, Bills, Eagles. And my biggest mover in my numbers were the Rams the last few weeks. I've gone up from 21st in week 9 to now 9th.
Wow, good call out. Okay, well, let's get into our game previews, starting off strong with our Saturday night game, because Saturday night games are now a thing again. Let's preview Broncos-Lions. Who wants to start?
I'll start. Lions opened 4 and 46.5, went up to 5. Now it's back to 4. Total still the same, 47.5. A few weeks ago, we'd have probably been like, this is not really a great matchup. The Lions were, doing so well, and the Broncos weren't. But we mentioned Broncos 6-7. We even talked about Sean Payton a few weeks ago, and is he overrated as a coach? Obviously not. I mean, he's doing wonders with the Broncos. They're playing well. The start when they beat the Chiefs, everybody sort of took notice, and they've won a lot of games recently. So in Detroit, we talked about how they're in our top 5 power ratings. Now we're not even talking about them anymore. Lost to the Bears, lost to the Packers at home, almost lost to the Bears at home. They're not playing well right now. They got a lot of fixing to do. Campbell's going to have to pull something out of his hat because they're in a tailspin. Really, it's weird to say a team that's with their record 9-4 is in a tailspin, but they are. I mean, you just look at it. It's one thing if it's against the top teams, but struggling against the Bears is a big eye opener. But I don't blame the line going back down to 4 from what it was yesterday at 5, even to 5.5. So it's an interesting game now. All of a sudden, when a few weeks ago it didn't look like it was going to be.
Yeah, just a tale of 2 teams heading in different directions. Broncos 6 out of the last 7 games, a little bit less than a coin flip to make the playoffs chances wise. Lions, on the other hand, embarrassing loss to the Bears. Jared Goff not playing great. So it should be a pretty competitive game, but it's leaning Broncos right now unless the Lions fix something.
All 3 games on Saturday are playoff implications, so even though on paper they don't look great matchups, they're all important. The spread's exactly where I made it. I favoured the over slightly. Interesting, their last 7 games in Detroit against each other, they're flip-flop wins. Detroit lost the last meeting 24-12 in 2015, so obviously Denver are going to win now because if you follow that pattern. Denver, one of 6 teams fighting for 2 realistic playoff spots in the AFC. Yet with the Chiefs' collapse, they find themselves 1 game out of the division.
I know, pretty insane.
Which is crazy, Detroit have got 2 games against the Vikings, which decide the division. So they've probably got one eye on that, which is the problem. They should just take care of business. It's not the end of the world if a Lions loss, but a Broncos loss pretty much ends the division hopes because KC have a bye this week in New England, don't they?
Some would say. Some would say. Speaking of Sean Payton, he absolutely obliterated Bill Belichick in that wins category that we were talking about.
It's also tonight, there could be pressure on Denver later because the Bengals play earlier in the day, so Denver will know where they sit.
Right.
Also, with a Minnesota loss, -150 Denver not to make the playoffs seems value to me.
Okay. Well, next up we have Cowboys Bills, both off wins. Who wants to start?
I'll take this one since Joey doesn't like my opinion. I had this closer to pick, obviously, because of my ratings. Both teams coming off just huge wins. If you think the Bills can win this game, they're 2-point favourites. I would bet them for the AFC. Don't take the -2 and don't take the -110. Take the +300 for the AFC. Miami's got a monsoon to contend with on Sunday. That'll be a level playing field. So they're not guaranteed to win, although, they're coming off a bad loss. It's the 3rd game this year. The Cowboys as a road dog that they've played. They've lost both and failed to cover, but both overs hit. So the Cowboys are not great. Their record is 10-3, but they're not great on the road. It's a tough stretch for Dallas also. They've just had Philadelphia, at Buffalo, at Miami, and the Lions. So, I think the Bills pull this one out. Although they've only covered 3 times at home this year, those 3 wins were by 26 points against the quality opposition of the Raiders, Dolphins, and the Jets. But there is one good step. For Bills to win this, they've got to stop Dallas early. Dallas were 11-2 against the spread first half this year.
Yeah, no, agree with it. The Bills are going to win.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it seems like a toss-up game.
Say we're going to win.
Oh, okay.
You liked the Bills.
If you'd like the Bills to win, you take them for the AFC.
But you're more pro-Bills than anybody on this panel.
And it pains me being a Dolphins.
I know it does. No, it seems like a toss-up type of game. I mean, the line's telling you it's going to be close. Went up to 2. We were at 2.5. And now it's 1.5. We took some big bets yesterday on Dallas. So, obviously coming off that huge win, both teams coming off a huge win, but again, more hinges on this game for the Bills. I mean, this is a game they have to win if they want to be in the playoffs. Dallas is more safely entrenched in the playoffs. It seems like a toss-up to me. I don't know what's going to happen come Sunday.
Yeah, I don't get this line, and even heading towards, I just don't understand it. The Bills' offense has been good this year. Defense, not so much. It's just they're really not consistent. The only thing consistent, Josh Allen again producing a turnover. I expect the Cowboys to put the Bills in their place on Sunday, and Dak to kind of make that big leap in the MVP odds and prove they're the better team.
All right, well, we will see. Next up, Ravens, Jags. Craig, you are such a Ravens stan that we're going to start with you.
Okay, well, it's good to have back-to-back 1 p.m. games on a Sunday followed by a true primetime matchup, which we get this week. Another one to watch with the weather. So all of Florida and Carolina, big winds. They're talking 30, 35 mile an hour wind and rain. So just be mindful of this one if you're playing the total. Not necessarily a preview of the game because I think the Ravens win, more because of Lawrence's injury, but the Ravens and Dolphins have got the toughest schedule the rest of the way. The Ravens got the Jags, the 49ers and the Dolphins. If, and it's a big if the Ravens go 3-0, there's your MVP.
Fair
right?
enough.
Yeah?
Fair enough.
They've gone through murderer's row and they've locked up the one seed.
Right.
We have right now the Ravens over 12.5 wins plus 140 and Lamar plus 600 for MVP. There's the value. However, a Jags win and the Jags are desperate, coupled with an expected Chiefs win, the Ravens' lock on the number 1 seed could be in serious jeopardy because if they lose the 49ers game, all of a sudden the Ravens are 10-5. The Ravens are 10-5. Originally, a few weeks back, we were talking who had the inside track, and I thought the Jags had the inside track on the 1 seed before the injuries.
Times.
Of course, they went and lost the next 2 games. But that puts them back in the mix. But then I'm looking, the crystal ball comes out, and the Chiefs might get it.
Guys?
Yeah, no, it's a good excuse me, it's a good Sunday night game. Obviously the Trevor Lawrence injuries has a cloud over this game. Playing another tough defense after playing the Browns last week. They said 3 touchdowns, but 3 picks. How bad is that ankle? How much is it hurting his delivery? Craig said a lot of wind and issues there. Usually bad weather games kind of like to go with the better defense, and that's the Ravens.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the only thing is just, the Jags really have their back against the wall in this one, and I think that's where they're just going to go all out. Ravens don't really need this win, and obviously they Ravens got, maybe not lucky. I think they deserved that win against the Rams, but, it was definitely not a good showing of their defense last week. So, yeah, I'm leaning Jags in this because I just think that, despite Trevor Lawrence's injury, I think their back's against the wall and they really need this one.
But we said this last week, that Lawrence could have sat the 2 games because they had the Browns and the Ravens as brutal defenses and really give them a chance to, A, get healthy. You're still going to win the division. You only have to win 2 of the last 3 anyway. Get in the playoffs with a healthy quarterback. If you go in the playoffs with an unhealthy quarterback, look what happens to the 49ers last year.
It must be a pride thing.
He's a gamer. We talked about the card, and he said, Trevor Lawrence said, I don't need a card, right?
Yes, so circling back to that, he actually did address it in the media, and he said, I said, no, I don't need a cart, but then he didn't realize how long he was going to be walking, and he even admitted to that, because I was like, that is way too long of a walk if your ankle is seriously injured.
Yeah, I'm not man enough. I'd have the cart, and I'd have the Bonix towel over my head to stop the tears.
It's okay to change your mind. Halfway he could have been like, okay, maybe I do need a cart, but so maybe it's a pride thing. But, okay, let's get into overreaction or not. Are you guys ready?
Ready.
Okay, overreaction or not, Patrick Mahomes. No context.
Did he overreact?
Yeah.
No, he didn't overreact. It shows his class when he apologised the following day, though. Look, when you pay somebody as much money as you pay Mahomes, it's nice to see the fire in the belly still and show that he's still a competitor, because you see it all too often. The big contracts come, and the motivation just isn't there. They've been caught out on a few penalties that are penalties. And maybe they bend the rules a little bit. They called the offensive lineman in the opening game against the Lions. He was clearly lined up incorrectly.
Right.
The offside against, was it Tony on the touchdown pass? He was clearly offside. What are you complaining for? I don't see Mahomes complaining about the hit he took that was legal the week before in Green Bay that got him an extra 15
No, he
yards
likes
down the
that
field. So
call.
he kind of forgot that one, didn't he? Look, it's part of the game. You make your own luck. But it's nice to see that he's a competitor and he still showed the class the next day to apologise.
Yeah, I agree with Greg. I mean, it's good to see the fire. You want that. Yeah, it's right after the game. Look, I've never been in that position. I'm not an athlete. I've never played in the high level like he has, so I don't blame him for being a little upset. But, I mean, was it overreaction? That looking back at it from our perspective, it's easy for us to see, yes, because Tony was offside. But, you know, sometimes that's called. I see games on the TV all the time, and that guy's lined up offsides, and they don't call it. So, just, you know, calls go your way, and then your way one week and against you the other week. But, yeah, definitely a big play. So, but, you know, I appreciate the fire for sure.
Yeah, I agree with the fire. Obviously, the Chiefs are not in the greatest place right now. The offsides call was brutal because a couple of times that game, Tony was offsides, and they didn't call it then. So if you lack consistency for the refs, I understand the anger. Because if they call it early in the game, then Tony is cognizant of it. Is it still Tony's fault at the end of the day? Absolutely. But I can understand the frustration there that you don't call it until the play that absolutely matters.
And you see that you literally see that all the time. The, you know, nose tackle lined up, right? He's right on the ball. It's like, how are they not calling that? So
Jason Kelsey, when he has his, they always say that somebody in the offense, it's really his hand. So it's consistency. So I understand the frustration, but.
Okay, so here's where I think it's an overreaction. I'm not even going to say the scene that he made on the field is the overreaction. It's when he brought up that Travis Kelce's legacy was going to somehow be tarnished by the fact that that play didn't count. I think that's where the overreaction lies.
I think Travis Kelce's doing okay. He might be a little bit poorer today considering it's somebody's 34th birthday.
Yes.
So, judging by all the flowers and probably the Cartier gifts, he'll have to play a few more years.
All right. Moving on, overreaction or not, Draymond Green is a liability.
Draymond Green would be my number 2 draft pick in this building as a trader. Like, the guy's awesome. Like I would have him and Rasheed Wallace, and if you're old enough to remember Rasheed Wallace, they were the best. Like, again, he's a competitor. He's there to antagonise. It's no different to having Ryan Reeves when he played for the Knights. Yeah, give me Draymond Green every day.
Yeah. No, each team in different leagues, they have pests. I mean, normally you hear about it in hockey, like, say, Brad Marchand of the Bruins, you know, the guy everybody hates to play against, but you love to have on your team. But with Draymond, it's getting a little excessive. I mean, he's been kicked out of 3 games, and this has been a constant problem for him. He's a great player, does a lot, scores, rebounds, definitely will pass the ball. He's not, you know, not a ball hog by any means, but, you know, it's getting where he's the story more so than everybody else. And when that happens with any player, it's kind of a problem. So I would say right now he's a liability. The, you know, fellow players might say different, but, you know, if that's all you're talking about is Draymond Green, that's not good.
My fantasy basketball team would say he's a liability because I cannot afford another suspension. But no, yeah, he's got some fire. You know, he's has that. It is kind of that role on the Warriors, so he is probably a liability. But I think the Warriors love it.
All right, overreaction or not, Tyreek Hill deserves to win MVP if he breaks the single season receiving record.
If you ask Patrick Mahomes right now, I bet he tells you yes. Yes, and we did actually take a large wager on him on MVP last week, so somebody saw it coming. The reason he won't win it, even though he completely deserves it, he's not going to break the 2,000 yards, even with a 17th game. He averages 141 yards in wins, 67 yards in losses. Based on the Miami schedule, that gets him to 1,900 yards. That's assuming he gets 141 on Sunday in 35-mile-an-hour winds, which he won't, and he's injured. The thing that worries me the most is they're overusing him. And if you're old enough to remember when Ricky Williams played for Miami, Dave Wanstead ran Ricky Williams into the ground. Like, he got the rushing title, most carries ever. You're not fresh when you get to the playoffs. And every week now you see Tyreek, if it's not his hand, it's his ankle or his knee. They're just overusing him now. And that'll ruin all their playoff chances.
Yeah, I'm in the middle. I think he probably deserves it, but I don't think he'll get it. I think most of the time when Tyreek is on the field, he's the best player.
He wins Offensive Player of the Year for sure.
Yeah, for sure, Offensive Player of the Year. But I think, you know, we go back to it. It's a quarterback award, and unfortunately he's probably going to get overlooked at this point. But, yeah, I mean, there's no doubt he's the most valuable player in the field most of the time. When he's on the field.
Yeah, I mean, obviously if he hits that benchmark, that'll be super impressive. But will that be enough? I don't know. Like Craig said, it's how do you perform against the best teams? and against the best teams, that's when he's had his worst performances. But he's a dynamic player, certainly deserving of an MVP award, and that's what I was going to say. Offensive Player of the Year probably seems like that's in his future because that's one they usually give to a non-quarterback. So it's going to be tough for him to break the record, not only the single season receiving record, but the 2,000-yard plateau. And he's nursing an injury. So no, definitely dynamic talent, but he should be in the mix if he breaks a record. But I just don't know if that's going to happen.
Yeah, like bottom line, Tyreek Hill is more valuable than Brock Purdy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. You only have to look at how bad the Chiefs are now and how great the Dolphins are, and it's one player.
Right.
Common denominator.
Okay, overreaction or not, the Jets made a mistake benching Zach Wilson.
I'm going to say no. It's not an overreaction. I mean, they had to do something. The masses were, everybody was against Zach Wilson. Obviously, he was a high draft pick, just hadn't panned out. And even though the options weren't that great behind him, they had to do something. I mean, it's almost worse if you don't do anything. If you don't do anything, it makes it look worse than if you just stand pat. Look, he deserves some time. I think he's had a lot of time, and he just hasn't delivered the results. So I don't blame Sal for pulling the trigger, even if it was for Tim Boyle. I think they had to do something. But look, he came back, won Offensive Player of the Week in the AFC. So maybe this will kickstart something. I don't think so. I was never a big believer in Zach Wilson, but no, definitely you gotta make those tough decisions, and he did the right thing.
Yeah, I'd say not an overreaction too. He seriously lacks consistency. Before last week, he was throwing more interceptions than touchdown passes. They decided to go their separate ways at the end of the season. I think that's probably the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, you're paid to win games, and it doesn't matter what job you're in. If you're a head coach or a head of trading, if somebody's not performing, you've got to have that conversation. You have to sit them. It makes no difference. Mm-hmm. Everything will be back to normal this week.
Yeah.
With the Jets, anyway.
Well, I thought it was funny. He came out and said, like, what's the worst that can happen? Like, they bench me again. So it seems like now the pressure's off.
Well,
so
he's playing for his next job.
You can just
right.
ball.
Yeah, just let it go. Yeah.
For sure. Okay, overreaction or not, I'm so sorry, Adam. The Eagles are frauds.
Big overreaction. Shocking response for myself. I mean, we talked about it earlier. Look, they're 10-3. They've lost to two very good teams. Even though they lost in a big manner, the defense looks bad right now. The offense not clicking. But to say they're frauds is definitely overstepping things. And not just because I'm an Eagles fan. Let me just put that out there. But yeah, no, look, they have a tough game this week at Seattle. But the other games are winnable down the stretch. They got the Giants a couple of times, so they have time to right the ship. But it's definitely concerning. Everybody reacts to what they last saw. They saw they played the top other two teams in the conference and got beaten soundly. So, questions should be raised for sure, but frauds is a definite harsh word.
Yeah, look, half the wins are against teams better than 500. That's a quality resume for me. They are not frauds, and they will be dangerous in the playoffs.
I don't know about dangerous. They still got to play the 49ers Cowboys. But yeah, I'm going to say overreaction. They just lost to the top two teams in the league, in my opinion. Not selling on the Eagles. Like I said, they got a lighter schedule at the end of the year. But again, they do have to go through the 49ers or Cowboys, and that will be a task.
Yeah. Okay, overreaction or not, the Dodgers are locked to win the World Series after signing Ohtani.
Plus 550 doesn't really suggest a lock to me. The salary deferral seems a little fishy, though. I think there might be a few conversations about that. Look, has Ohtani been healthy an entire season yet?
Last few years, it's been better. He's played a lot more games than he did the previous couple of seasons. Yeah, definitely questions.
It's obviously something he's struggled to do, but I think he's going to have trouble running the bases with the size of his wallet now.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not.
But the wallet's
not
going to be thick till he's
still
10 years.
Yeah. It's still a deferral wallet.
No, I will say overreaction. Yes, it's an incredible sign. He's a dynamic talent. Obviously, he's not pitching this year, so that changes thing. And you look at the top three, Betts, Ohtani, and Freeman, as solid as it gets. Big question for the Dodgers is the pitching. Kershaw gone, but he's been sort of going downhill. Walker Buehler's coming back off a big injury. I guess now there's Tyler Glass now might be in their sights. They might pull off a trade for him, but the pitching is the big question with the Dodgers. Yes, it's great. Ohtani's a great addition, but it's how the rest of the bottom of the lineup's going to do. The Muncies, the Luxes, all those players. How are they going to do? I mean, the top three will put up their numbers. They should, but the pitching and the rest of the lineup, you can't call them a lock. And plus, the Dodgers I don't know how many times they've been in this position of having a huge payroll. And since after, if you take away the 1988 World Series, 35 years they've won one World Series. That's it. So, sometimes you might have to question what they're doing and spending all this money. Definitely has not gotten them a good return of investment in recent memory. So, definitely not a lock.
Not a lock.
Yeah, not a lock for me too. I'm not a baseball guy. Everybody knows that here, but
you don't have a fantasy team in baseball.
Yeah, do not know. I'll definitely not be doing a fantasy team in baseball. But we'll see what other additional pieces with that deferral that they can add, and how strong of a team they could be. But Ohtani's good, right?
Yeah. And they'll be in the mix.
I hope so.
Right.
Yeah, and they'll be in the mix for Yamamoto, the Japanese pitcher that's coming over, who has a lot of big teams are after him. So if they get him, then maybe that changes. But yeah, they need help in the pitching department.
Yeah. Can you even have a lock in baseball? Such a weird.
It's the one sport that money can buy a championship, but it rarely does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we will see. Let's get into our last segment of our talk: weekly game predictions.
My first prediction is you are not going to pick a loser because you haven't picked a loser in a while.
I know. I'm on fire
You
right
are
now.
on fire.
I appreciate the call out there.
You're welcome. Dolphins, Jets under.
I like it. You don't think the Dolphins are going to score 70 on the Jets?
They might score 36 and a half. And the Jets won't score.
All right.
Give me the boys, America's team, no points. But not just straight. We're going SGP. We're going Cowboys win, Josh Allen interception, plus 191.
America's team. All right, for my prediction, I'm going to go the college route. The Cure Bowl, I'm taking Miami, Ohio, plus 7 against App State. They got a strong defense. I think they'll be motivated for the game. It should App State. App State has some good wins. They beat James Madison. But Miami, Ohio, I think getting a touchdown seems a little too much for a team with a really good defense.
And you're getting bad weather.
And the bad weather as
There
well.
you go.
So give me that better defense in those bad weather games. So going with the Red Hawks, plus a 7.
I like it. Okay, I'm going Denver over Lions. Might not be too shocking, but I was really mean to Denver at the beginning of the year, so I'm hoping to get some, give them some good juju.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe you're on the bulletin board in the locker room.
You
Yeah,
know
those-
what?
those
I was giving them
questions you've
bulletin
been
board
asking.
material
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
sure. So
No doubt.
yeah,
You were at the Raiders-Vikings game Sunday.
I sure was.
Did you enjoy it?
I wouldn't say that
Okay.
necessarily.
All 3 points.
I'm hoping tomorrow they score a bit more.
Okay.
Yeah, keep the fans interested.
get any
It's a
worse.
primetime
No.
game, you
It
know.
can't.
Yeah, they got to make good use out of that stadium. It's going to be hosting the Super Bowl, so we'll see.
Yeah, Ravens and Eagles.
Do you guys like
Ooh,
Raiders?
I like
Do you like Raiders over Chargers? They don't have a quarterback.
No opinion on that game whatsoever.
All right.
Maybe a defensive touchdown. Because
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. Easton Stick's got,
it's great.
okay, yeah, great name, one of the best
Great
names in
name.
sports. But yeah, it's for true fans only. This Thursday night game, maybe.
Yes.
All right, guys. Well, that concludes our episode of Talking with the Traders. If you guys like what you heard and would love to see video version, we'll be uploading that tomorrow to our YouTube at Caesar Sports. Please toss us a follow. Guys, anything you want to say to the listeners before the weekend?
Go Bills.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Yeah,
happy holidays.
All right, bye.